A BuzzFeed News report found a rise in canceled abortion appointments among undocumented immigrants. According to the investigation, undocumented immigrants are either pushing back or not showing up for their appointments at all.
Several nonprofits say they are correlating this trend to the rise of anti-immigrant speech by the president and his supporters, including several ICE raid threats.
BuzzFeed reporter Brianna Sacks joins us now. She's the journalist behind this report. So, Brianna, you spoke with people from 4 different groups that help these women. What did they tell you?
Correct. So I spoke with 4 funds who help people get abortions who normally couldn't afford the procedure, and they said that they've noticed a significant number of people canceling their abortion appointments or pushing them back a week or 2 during this kind of ongoing threat of mass arrests and raids. And they're in New Mexico and Texas. And, one fund, the Mariposa Fund that works specifically with the undocumented immigrant population, said this also happened significantly in last summer in 2018. And that was also kind of when these onslaught of threats and raids were going on. So, a lot of times these people already have to travel 700 miles round trip to get to an abortion clinic. So they're even more afraid of doing so, when having to maybe cross borders into New Mexico, or there's checkpoints. And so they're just kind of canceling their appointments, which is, those appointments are already really hard to get.
So what are it's common sense would indicate what some of the consequences are, but just elaborate for our viewers what those consequences are for women being on high alert like this.
Sure. So to, cancel an abortion appointment, a lot of times it takes a while to secure funding. These funds have to reach out maybe and get, a few $100s here and there. And then in states like Texas, there's a 24-hour waiting period. So you have to have your counseling appointment, and you have to wait 24 hours for your procedure. So pushing back or canceling an appointment, sometimes that can push, the pregnancy back a week or 2 or 2 weeks. You have to take time off work. You have to find childcare. So sometimes that can make that can push a first trimester procedure into a second trimester procedure, which is way more expensive and stressful. And so it could, add a few $1,000s and days to a person's experience.
And it seems like it's worse in some of the southern states. Is that because they typically make it more difficult to get an abortion in general, whether you're, documented or undocumented?
Correct. Yes. So, Texas is what we call an abortion desert, meaning that there's hardly any available clinics, within 100 or so miles from a major city. And we're seeing in Alabama and other southern states, as lawmakers are working really hard to eradicate reproductive health access from their states with these laws and these bans. So it's already ridiculously hard to try and get an abortion for, many, many, many people in the U.S. It's not like you can walk out your door and look up the Planned Parenthood closest to you, people in LA or these, other cities are used to. It's a mission.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, the Trump administration had a policy preventing undocumented teens from getting abortions. Last month, a federal court ruled against that policy. What was the administration trying to accomplish there?
Right, the Jane Doe case. Just good question. They were trying to, control the access for migrants in these detention centers. And, another thing that these funds have said is they've noticed an uptick in people coming in to get abortions who have experienced sexual assault on their way over here. So, the fact that they are now able to get an abortions is significant because they are experiencing, more violence and sexual assault, these funds have said. So that's another thing that they wanted me to point out, that the importance of being able to get that care.
Just out of curiosity, I know your focus was on abortions. What are you hearing from some of these groups that some of these undocumented migrants are just avoiding getting other health care services for basically the same reason?
Yes. Also, interestingly enough, West Fund, which is in El Paso, they told me that they're actually noticing a lot of students shrinking away from getting healthcare and services, or like, not going to class, people who, have to travel to school there, which was like an interesting thing that I hadn't thought about, is the impact on young people in that manner of, trying to go to school, or trying to go to the doctor in general. People are just a lot more fearful of moving around, especially in these towns like El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
Really fascinating reporting. Brianna Sacks reporting for BuzzFeed. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.